How's it going, guys? So it's been several weeks since my last video. Reason being, we moved. We moved again. Long story, basically, circumstances out of our own control. But that's not the important part. The important part is today we are working on the Nova, and it's doing all right. I haven't really driven it much recently, but I have done a couple things since the last time you saw it. One big thing that I've been meaning to do that I've mentioned before in other videos is that I actually swapped the master cylinder. I got a couple new hard lines on there because these ports are different sizes. Reason I did that is because my Willwood brakes here, there they are, poking out. Basically what I had on there before was a stock setup for the master and the distribution block and all that, and it didn't seem to be working very well with the Willwood 4-piston disc brakes up front. And I still have stock drums in the rear, so I was trying to figure out how I could get them to work properly together without, you know, getting too fancy and all that. And I found that basically the size master cylinder that I should need, and I'm still confirming this, we'll have to see. Long story short, this only cost me 50 bucks, and it is supposed to be the right size. I had to change the push rod a little bit. I had to grind it down, and obviously get these new lines in there, which these are gorgeous, gorgeous lines. This one's fine. That one I'm not very proud of, but it works. It's not broken or anything, and it's just a little ugly. Basically, this should fix my braking issues. It basically wouldn't hold the brakes. It wouldn't lock them up, but it wouldn't gauge properly. But it should work now, but I still need to bleed them some more because the first bleed, and I'll also show you what else I did here, the pedals. If you follow me on Instagram, you probably saw that I changed the pedals up a little bit. I had an aftermarket manual pedal set with the brake pedal and the clutch pedal. Clutch pedal's still here, but the brake pedal, I wasn't super happy with the shape of the actual pedal itself and where the hole was drilled for the push rod and everything. It just didn't seem to be working very well, and I never had any real issues with the automatic pedal that came with the car, so I decided to cut that down here and use it again, basically. You also see I painted it with some spray-on truck bed liner, so give me kind of that gritty finish so I won't slip and slide on these, because I don't have any rubber pads for these and I don't really want to use them because they fall off anyway. They always fall off. Gas pedals, just a gas pedal. It's still doing good. I do need to tear stuff out from under here eventually, clean up this wiring. There's not that many wires under here, especially compared to modern cars, but I really need to clean this stuff up because there's a lot of unused wires in here and stuff, and I got like, this is the old neutral safety switch that needs to be, you know, like rerouted and all that, and just stuff that I never got around to doing. And you know, the blower motor and stuff is still in there. I don't actually know if I have a heater core in there or not. I think I might. I need to clean all that stuff out, clean the extra insulation out and all that stuff, and really finish stripping this thing out, because it was never intended to be like a nice street car when I got it, but there's some stuff I could still strip out. Eventually I do want to strip all these little brackets and stuff for the seats. I want to cut all those out, and every little thing that I'm not using back here, basically any little pieces of trim that I can take out, just anything that's not holding in anything structural, essentially, I want to tear out eventually. We'll see what happens there. But this is what happens after, well, where I'm at with the brakes. I bled it once before, and we're still, that's almost to the ground there. It pumps up a little bit, and it doesn't actually feel like that bad here, but when you're driving and the booster comes on with the vacuum of the engine, it's just complete mush, and there's basically no brakes. So I need to finish bleeding it. Hopefully later I can get somebody to help me with that. But one other thing that I did is I installed a new fan and fan shroud. This is a D-Raleigh 17-inch single electric fan to replace my questionable no-name brand fan. And the reason I got that is not only did this not have a shroud and kind of was never really impressive to me, but it started making some interesting noises. Funny enough, it wasn't making that noise when it was still installed. It was making a rattling kind of, almost as if a twig was stuck in it, you know, and it was just like, but the fact that it's making this sound here, I'm glad I'm changing it out of the way. So I've got this nice D-Raleigh fan. I still need to wire it in, but I realized since basically the old fan is a 2-wire setup, and you can use this as a 2-wire setup as well. I believe you just wire these two together, power and ground. I already have a relay in here, and I can use the ground point that's underneath for the ground wire. That's pretty easy. That's the black wire here. And then basically I just should be able to tie in the power from here to the power for the relay. And the relay I know works, so should be good to go. Got the battery charging up here. We'll see how long that takes. It's, you know, it's just charging, and we'll see how long that takes. This thing was pretty dead. I really don't want to kill any more Optimas. This is my second or third Optima I've had on this car because I just never drive it, and I don't unhook the battery like you're supposed to, unfortunately. I do have a disconnect that I'm working on getting in here, but I think I have to change this, and it's a long story, but that'll be a project in the future as well. Other than that, the car's doing okay. I still have little funkiness going on with the power steering. It leaks a little bit, so I constantly have to check the pressure or the fluid level. You can see it's a little bit weepy under here. It's a little bit damp. I can't tell if it's this fitting or if it's all coming from the cap, or if it's this fitting back here or that fitting down there. Might be a combination. I don't know. The reservoir was another thing that I was never impressed that much with. You can see my super redneck engineered super basic bracket here that's doesn't even fit properly, and that was just to get it on there. That'll go away soon with this, which is the LS if you didn't recognize it under its new barbecue cover. That's just temporary. That's taken a long time. Money, people. But we're going to get into this fan here. I got it mounted up here. That comes with brackets to mount it to your core support, and it just fits. Let's just say that. This is not a direct fit shroud. I basically measured the space I had on the matrix itself, and I almost did it a little too well, because if you see, the clearance is basically nil here, and it's actually closer down the bottom. It actually does interfere just a slight amount. It's basically wedged in there under its own tension, and then it's bolted in up top. So it's not like it's going anywhere, but eventually I probably will figure out a bottom mount solution for it. And you can see that it's pretty close. So I'll probably put in some piping or some tape or something in here to close this gap just a little bit, just to get that extra little bit of airflow and make that extra bit more efficient. But going from that fan that had zero shrouding whatsoever except like the ring around the blades to this massive 2400 CFM fan, that should be pretty good, especially with my extracting vents. Should be, pretty good. You can kind of see how they line up here to where they are behind the radiator, and they actually do fall behind the fan as well. So they should still remain functional, and I wonder if maybe I could bend them down a bit more to get some better airflow, but we'll see. Interestingly enough, I'm not sure if this one actually clears the power steering or not. It might not, because it looks like they're at different levels, you can see there, and the other ones aren't. But that'll be something for another time. So for now, let's get into this wiring. Alright, so basically, like I said before, it's pretty simple. I just unbolted the ground point and the relay, and so now we have some room to work with here. I can pretty much just snip it. I will have to resolder this. The ground, I think I'm going to find another ring terminal and crimp that all back in there so I have a fresh one. I think I have more of these somewhere. And then we can test it. Alright, so I'm still waiting for the soldering iron to warm up here, but it's pretty easy. Really, there's nothing too exciting about clipping wires and just crimping something on here. This is one key thing everybody always forgets is make sure you have your heat shrink on the wire already before you twist stuff together and solder it together. Otherwise, you're obviously not going to be able to get the heat shrink on there. It's one of those simple things that people just forget sometimes, but don't let it happen to you. So I haven't soldered in a long while, so that's not the prettiest, but it should be pretty functional. It should be plenty strong, especially with the shrink wrap over it when I'm going to put that on in a second, and should be should be fine for now. I'm just going to wrap that up and bolt everything together here. And there it is. It's all wired and buttoned back up. Everything looks like it's in pretty good spot. That wire was clocked a little bit differently before, but it should be fine. Shouldn't be messing with anything. And now, like I said, I haven't soldered in a long time. Now we're gonna give it a shot here. All right, looks like it's working. I will have to let the battery charge a little more. You heard that it was very, very weak just now. I don't even know if the engine would start at the current moment. We could see, but it sounds like it's at least functioning. There we go, no weird noises or anything, so that's a good sign. Let me see if the car will even start. No. Yeah, that battery's still pretty dead, so it's gonna have to charge up for a little while more before I can really test it. So I just bled the brakes real quick, and this is so much better. Not sure if you can really tell the difference, but so much better, so much more of an actual positive feel on the brake pedal. Now, I will kind of miss the low heel-toe-able pedal that I had before with the old pedal. You can still kind of do it a little bit, but it's, for now, maybe later on I can redo the gas pedal to make it kind of heel-toe better, but for now, this is way safer. That was kind of the only thing that didn't feel bad about the old brake pedal, was the fact that because it was so low and had such short travel, it was really easy to heel-toe. But this is way better. I love the surface on these pedals too with that bed liner. Pro tip, if you ever need to coat your pedals, don't use grip tape or anything like that if you don't want to use the rubber things. Go ahead and try the bed liner. It's pretty sweet. I'm just gonna get it buttoned up here and probably take it for a test drive here in a second. Alright, so it's a little bit later here. I did go on a short test drive down the street and back, and brakes are still doing the same thing. Basically, it still wants to go to the floor. So I'm gonna have to do a bit more diagnostic stuff on this to figure out what's going on. Really hope I can soon, because I want to drive this car more. Even though I've got an engine swap coming, I do want to see what it can do a little bit better with better brakes and all that. And yeah, but that's it for this video. Hopefully I can get back on it and start working on this more and doing some other stuff and help make some more videos for you. See ya.